All right, so today we're diving into marriage.
Ooh.
We know you're thinking about it, and you even sent us this book. Pass this test before you walk down the aisle.
Yes.
I gotta say, even just skimming through it, it's jam-packed with stuff.
Yeah,
I'm really curious to hear your take on this.
for sure. This book is really interesting. What really struck me is how it just tackles all these common myths that we hear all the time about marriage.
Yes.
It's like a reality check,
Yeah.
before you get to the vows.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Like in chapter 1, when it debunks the whole love conquers all thing.
Right.
I mean, we all want to believe in the fairy tale, right?
You do.
But the book really argues that just having that feeling of love isn't enough to actually make it last.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on that?
Well, I think about it this way. Love is maybe like the foundation,
Uh-huh.
but you still need the walls and the roof and the plumbing. You
Right.
need the whole structure of a house to make it livable. And the book suggests that, things like compatibility and shared values and strong communication skills are really just as vital as that initial spark.
Yeah.
There's even a study in here showing that couples who regularly express appreciation for each other, even just for little things,
Yeah.
they end up being much happier in the long run.
Uh-huh.
It's not about the grand gestures. It's the everyday stuff.
Yeah.
Kindness and understanding.
That makes total sense.
Mm.
And it makes me think about another myth that the book tackles, that marriage will solve all your problems.
Oh, yeah.
Like, once you've found the one, everything else is just going to magically fall into place.
Exactly. But the book says watch out for that kind of thinking.
Right.
Because it points out that actually marriage can make things worse
Oh,
if you're not careful. If there are already problems, it can amplify those.
interesting.
And chapter 2 is where it dives into some facts about marriage that are pretty eye-opening.
Oh, really?
Like, did you know that couples who go into marriage with a lot of debt
Mm.
are statistically more likely to have conflict and even divorce?
Wow.
So it really stresses how important it is to be on the same page financially
Yeah.
and talk about money openly before you tie the knot.
That is a sobering statistic.
Yeah,
Especially when you know you're looking for a partnership that's not just emotionally fulfilling,
right.
but also, stable,
Absolutely.
financially stable.
For sure.
So it seems like the book is encouraging us to be pretty practical about marriage.
Totally. And it even addresses this whole myth of marrying rich
Oh,
as like a shortcut to happiness.
Right, yeah.
Chapter 1 actually cites these studies showing that after a certain point,
Yeah.
wealth doesn't really make a difference in how satisfied you are in your marriage.
Interesting.
It seems like true happiness in marriage comes from things like shared values,
Mm.
emotional intimacy, and mutual respect.
Right.
Things that money can't buy.
Yeah, money can't buy you love.
Yeah.
Speaking of context, though, the book also delves into the history of marriage. Like in chapter 2, it talks about how marriage has evolved from being mainly about economic security and social standing to being more about love and personal fulfillment. What stood out to you in that section?
I thought it was fascinating how the book points out this tension that we have today
Okay.
between tradition and modern ideas about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It mentions how arranged marriages used to be the norm
Right.
in so many cultures, and now they're pretty rare,
Yeah.
at least in Western societies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this basic human need for connection and partnership,
Yeah.
that's been there all along.
It's a constant.
Yeah, it made me think about how even though our reasons for getting married are changing,
Right.
that desire for love and belonging is still the same.
It's so true.
Mhm.
And it makes you wonder, right? Because the book even points out that with all these changes,
Yeah,
marriage rates are going down
they are.
and people are waiting longer to get married.
Mm.
I wonder if that's partly because, in our modern world, there's so much emphasis on individual achievement and finding yourself first.
That's a really interesting thought. And
Yeah.
it ties in with, your desire for personal growth
Yeah.
within a committed relationship. You want someone who will support your dreams,
Exactly.
but who will also be a true partner
Mm-hmm.
in all of life's ups and downs.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's get into what people actually expect from marriage.
Okay.
Chapter 3 lays out all those common expectations.
Yeah.
Companionship support, intimacy sharing, adventures.
Mm.
The whole 9 yards.
It's all there.
But then chapter 2 hits us with the reality check.
It does. It balances those romantic ideals with some hard truths about,
Yes,
the work of marriage.
it's work.
It is. It emphasizes that building a partnership that lasts
Right.
takes effort and compromise and a willingness to adapt and grow together.
Right.
There's even this quote from a marriage therapist who says,
Oh, I love quotes.
"Love is a verb, not just a feeling."
Ooh.
meaning it's about choosing your partner again and again and putting in the work to make the relationship strong.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
That is so true. And that brings us to chapter 4, which I love the title, Are You Ready to Do the Work?
Yes.
What do you think of that section?
You know what struck me was how much it emphasizes self-awareness.
Okay.
The book argues that before you even think about marriage,
Yeah.
you need to know yourself really well.
Yes.
Your strengths, your weaknesses, your needs,
Hmm.
even your baggage from past relationships.
Wow.
It even says that being comfortable being alone is a good sign
Yeah.
that you're ready for a healthy relationship.
Interesting.
Because you can't expect someone else to complete you
Right.
if you haven't figured out who you are first
Yeah.
and accepted yourself.
It's like they say you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
And this leads us to what I think is one of the most valuable parts of this whole book.
Okay.
Chapter 5.
Yes.
The list of questions you must ask before marriage.
Yes.
I mean, some of these are tough,
Right.
right?
They are, but the book makes a good point. It
Yeah.
says that having those hard conversations is so important.
It's better to know now.
It is. You have to uncover those big incompatibilities
No.
or deal breakers before it's too
I
late.
figured it's too late.
You got to lay it all out there, even if it feels a little risky,
Right.
because transparency builds trust.
Yeah,
And trust is the foundation of any relationship that's going to last.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's better to have those tough conversations now
Yeah.
than to find out later,
Right.
when it can lead to resentment or a breakup.
Exactly. The book is really stressing that open and honest communication is key.
Yeah.
And it's not just about talking either.
What else?
It's about listening. Really listening.
Okay.
And understanding your partner's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't agree with it.
Yeah.
The book even suggests practicing active listening.
Ooh, like what?
Things like summarizing what your partner said
Okay.
to make sure you're both on the same page.
That's a great tip. So what are some of the specific things the book recommends talking about?
Well, it covers a lot.
Okay.
Finances, career goals,
Yeah.
parenting styles, how you're going to split chores,
Mm-hmm.
even stuff that can be sensitive,
Oh, like what?
like your religious beliefs,
Okay.
political views, even how you feel about intimacy and sex.
Okay.
The book says, don't shy away from those topics,
Even if they're awkward.
even if they're uncomfortable.
I can imagine those conversations could get intense,
They could.
but I bet it would be worth it
Oh, yeah,
to avoid any bad surprises down the road.
totally.
It's like the book is saying, don't just fall in love.
Right.
Fall into knowledge
Yes.
about your partner.
Fall into knowledge. I love that. And, speaking of knowledge,
Yeah.
there's a whole chapter that intrigued me.
Which one?
Chapter 11, where it
Okay.
talks about the marriage readiness test.
The test.
Yeah, it's this self-assessment
Mm.
to help you figure out how ready you really are for marriage, for this big commitment.
Yeah.
It's not just about whether you love each other.
Right.
It's about practical things, too.
Okay.
Like, are you financially compatible?
Yeah.
Are you emotionally mature?
Right.
Do you have the same vision for the future?
Wow.
It's almost like a pre-marriage checkup to make sure you're both on the same page
Interesting.
and that you're ready to face whatever challenges come up.
Yeah. It's like that saying, measure twice, cut once.
Exactly.
But in this case, it's more like
Reflect deeply.
reflect deeply.
Commit once.
I love that. So we've covered a lot here.
We have.
We've talked about debunking those myths about marriage, understanding the history of marriage,
Yeah,
and how important it is to have those pre-marriage conversations.
absolutely.
But there's still so much more to explore in this book.
There is so much more. And I can't wait to dive into some of these other chapters,
Oh, yeah. Like what?
like the ones about managing money as a couple
Uh-huh.
and figuring out all the family dynamics. Yeah.
There's even a section about the downsides of dating a lot of people before marriage.
What?
I'm really curious to hear what you think about that.
Me too. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and
Okay.
explore all that in more detail.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
One thing that really stood out to me about Chapter 6, must-have conversations, is how it goes deeper than just, those typical getting-to-know-you questions.
Yeah.
It's like, it's pushing couples to really dig deep,
Okay.
talk about everything, from their goals and dreams to how they handle stress,
Right.
even past relationships.
Wow.
Like the book is saying,
Yeah.
don't just talk about your favorite movies.
Right.
Get real,
Yeah, get real about the hard stuff.
about your hopes and fears, the things you might be holding back.
The things you don't want to talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is it's not just about problems or red flags.
Okay.
It's also about those positive things,
What do you mean?
like your dreams and what you want to achieve.
Both as individuals and as a couple.
So like aligning your visions for the future.
Yeah. Making sure you're both headed in the same direction.
That's important because you want a partner who's going to support you.
Exactly. Someone who will celebrate your successes.
Absolutely. Okay, so speaking of practical matters.
Yes.
Chapter 7 dives into a topic that I think a lot of couples find really intimidating.
Ooh.
Finances.
Ah, yes. Money.
The book seems to recognize that disagreements about money
Oh, yeah.
are a huge source of stress in marriages.
For sure. I've heard so many stories about couples fighting over money,
Oh, yeah.
spending habits debt,
Just different ways of thinking about money.
different philosophies.
Yeah. So what does the book have to say about all this?
Well, it covers a lot.
Like what?
Creating a budget together, talking about long-term goals.
Like retirement.
Exactly. Saving for a house, retirement, all that.
Okay.
It even suggests getting help from a financial advisor
Okay.
if you need it. But what really stood out to me was the focus on being open and honest
About money.
about money. It suggests having these regular money dates.
Money dates?
Yeah, like a date night, but you talk about finances.
Interesting.
Check in with each other. Share any concern.
Make decisions together.
Exactly.
I love that idea. I think that could prevent a lot of problems down the line.
It could. And especially for you,
Yeah.
financial stability is so important to you.
It is.
So finding a partner who's responsible with money
Yes.
and who shares your values around finances,
That's key.
that's going to be crucial.
Absolutely. And it's not just about being on the same page, practically.
Right,
It's
yeah.
also about understanding,
Yeah,
each other's emotional relationship with money.
that's so true. The book even talks about how
Yeah.
our childhood experiences and our families can shape how we think and feel about money.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because money's not just about numbers.
It's not. It's emotional.
It's really emotional.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chapter 8 gives us this helpful summary
Oh, yeah.
of marriage expectations versus reality.
It's like a reality check.
Yeah, it's like a little recap
A reminder.
of everything we've been talking about.
Exactly. To help you balance those romantic ideas with the practical stuff.
The day-to-day,
It says that, look, challenges and conflicts are going to happen,
they're inevitable.
but you can get through them with effort, communication, and being willing to adapt.
It's like that saying, love is a marathon, not a sprint.
That's a good one.
You got to keep going even when it's hard.
You do. And that brings us to Chapter 9,
Okay.
where the big question is, are you ready to walk down the aisle?
The big question.
A big one. It has this checklist
A checklist.
to help you figure out if you're really ready
Ready for marriage.
for marriage.
Uh-huh.
What factors does it consider?
Yeah, what are we talking about here?
Emotional maturity,
Okay.
commitment, communication skills,
Mm.
financial stability, your support system.
Wow, it's a lot.
It is. It's a big decision. It even looks at your life experiences.
Okay.
It's this whole approach that really encourages you to look inward.
So it's not just checking boxes.
No, it's about really thinking about your own personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in the right place emotionally and mentally.
To take on this commitment.
Exactly. It's about being honest with yourself.
And your partner.
Yes, about where you are in life and what you truly want
From marriage.
from marriage.
Okay.
So then Chapter 10 shifts gears a little bit.
How so?
It's about looking ahead to married life.
Okay.
It talks about setting goals as a couple,
Hmm.
maintaining intimacy and getting support when you need it.
Okay.
It's recognizing that marriage is a journey, not just a destination.
Right. It's not just about the wedding day.
It's not. It's about everything that comes after.
And it takes work.
It does. It takes effort, communication,
Yeah.
and being open to growing together.
Yeah. It's like the book is saying, don't just plan the wedding.
Right.
Plan for the next 50 years.
Exactly. And it emphasizes that it's important to keep investing in the relationship.
Even after the honeymoon phase is over.
Even when things get routine. Have date nights.
Yeah.
Make time for each other.
Stay connected.
Keep that spark alive.
Such good advice. Because it's easy to get caught up in everyday life.
It is. And forget to make time for each other.
Okay. So I have to ask about the marriage readiness test.
Ah, yes, Chapter 11.
What kind of questions does it ask?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive.
Okay.
It covers communication trust,
Mm-hmm.
shared values, how you deal with conflict,
Okay.
even financial compatibility,
Uh-huh.
family and social relationships, your overall readiness for marriage.
Wow. So it really gets into everything.
It does. It's about figuring out if you're truly compatible,
Not just in love.
not just in love, but as partners in life.
Right. Okay, so the book also talks about, the not-so-fun stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 12, Reasons Why Marriages Fail.
Yes, it's not trying to scare anyone,
Right.
but it does give you some insight into those common traps
Yeah.
that can lead to problems
Some breakups.
and breakups. Knowing this stuff can help you spot potential issues early on.
So you can try to prevent them.
Exactly.
So what are some of the things that the book highlights?
Well, lack of communication is a big one.
Makes sense.
Unmet expectations,
Oh.
financial strain, infidelity.
Those are tough ones.
They are.
Hmm.
It also talks about growing apart,
Okay.
control issues, resentment.
So basically marriage takes work.
It does. It takes constant nurturing
Right.
and a willingness to change and grow together.
It's a journey.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 13 brings up something I find really fascinating.
Oh, what's that?
Negative impacts of dating multiple people before marriage.
Interesting. What does the book say about that?
It's about how your past relationships can affect your current one.
Okay.
Carrying baggage from past relationships.
Right? Like emotional scars.
Exactly. Unrealistic expectations, trust issues,
Oh, yeah?
even a fear of commitment.
Wow. All of that can impact your ability.
To build a strong and lasting marriage, it's a reminder that our past experiences, especially the negative ones,
Yeah,
they can shape how we act in our current relationships.
that's true. So it's important to be self-aware
It is. And to work through any unresolved issues.
before jumping into something new.
Exactly. And finally, chapter 14 tackles this really big question.
No, what is it?
Should you marry for love or safety?
Wow, that's a tough one.
It is. It looks at both sides.
Love.
The benefits and the drawbacks of each.
Of choosing love or safety.
It really makes you think about your own values.
It's like, do you follow your heart or your head?
Right. The book says both are important,
Okay.
but finding that balance between the two,
Yeah.
that's the ideal.
So feeling loved and safe.
Exactly. Both emotionally and practically.
So I noticed something in the back of the book.
What's that?
There's this whole list of hotlines,
Oh, yes.
national and international.
For help with abuse.
Yes, this is so important.
It is. Especially for anyone who might be in a situation
Yeah.
where they're experiencing abuse.
Or if they know someone who is,
It's a reminder that there's help out there.
you're not alone.
You are not alone. And even though we're focusing on the positive things about marriage,
Yeah.
it's important to be aware of the potential for harm.
And to know that there are resources available.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about the myths and realities of marriage,
Hmm.
the importance of communication,
Yes.
finances,
Yeah.
dealing with past relationships.
Those important stuff.
It seems like this book is a really great guide
It is.
to help you figure out all the complexities of marriage
Mm-hmm.
and make good decisions about your future.
It gives you the information you need.
So now I'm curious, what are your final thoughts
Okay.
about the book, and what do you think are the most important takeaways?
For our listener.
So after this whole deep dive,
Hmm.
into pass this test before you walk down the aisle,
Yeah.
what do you think is like the biggest takeaway
Hmm.
for our listener who's thinking about getting married?
I think the most important thing is to approach marriage with both your heart and your head.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah,
You want to acknowledge the love,
of course.
but you also need to think about compatibility and communication.
Right. And being willing to put in the work.
Absolutely.
It's like the book is saying, don't just dream about the wedding day.
Right.
Prepare for the actual marriage.
Yeah, the real deal. It's about building a partnership that's not just based on feelings,
Yeah.
but on something deeper.
Come.
Shared values, respect.
And a real commitment to growing together.
Exactly. And for someone like you, who's looking for a relationship that's both emotionally fulfilling
Mhm.
and aligned with your goals,
Yeah.
this book has so much to offer.
Really does.
It encourages you to think about what you really want
Out of marriage.
out of marriage, what you're willing to give.
And if your partner wants the same things.
Exactly. It's not just about finding the right person.
It's about becoming the right person.
Yes,
For yourself.
for yourself. Someone who's self-aware and mature,
And ready for all that comes with marriage.
the good and the bad.
One thing that really struck me was the whole marriage readiness test.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this really cool tool
It is.
to help you think about things
Mhm.
and have those important conversations with your partner.
It covers so much communication, conflict resolution.
Finances, family dynamics.
Just like a checklist
Yeah.
to help you see if you're really ready
For marriage.
to marriage as individuals and as a couple.
And even though the book talks about things that can go wrong.
It does.
It doesn't feel negative.
No.
It's more like it's giving you this realistic view.
Yeah.
So you can be prepared.
Exactly.
It's empowering,
It is. It's about making informed decisions.
building a strong marriage.
One that can last.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what's one piece of advice you'd give to our listener?
Based on what we've learned from pass this test before you walk down the aisle, I would say embrace this journey of self-discovery
Yes.
that the book encourages. Really think about what you need and what you value.
Yeah.
Have those honest conversations with your partner.
Open communication.
Yes. Because marriage can be this amazing adventure,
It can.
but it takes effort, a willingness to learn and change,
And that shared commitment.
to building a life together.
That was beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that. And remember, the book is just the beginning.
It is.
The real work starts now.
It does. With putting these ideas into action,
Having those conversations from the heart.
building that foundation of trust and respect.
And love.
And love.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into marriage and relationships.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it helpful
Yeah.
as you navigate this exciting time in your life.
Best of luck.
And we'll see you next time.